The air in the city felt thick, not with smog, but with 1,000 what-ifs that clawed at Alara's throat every time she tried to breathe. To any outsider, Alara was the picture of success, yet inside, she was drowning in a sea of invisible deadlines and the crushing weight of a future she hadn't even reached yet. Every notification on her phone felt like a heartbeat of panic, a constant reminder that the world was moving faster than her soul could keep up with. She was living in a mental prison where the walls were made of tomorrow's worries. Driven by a desperate need for silence, she left the neon lights behind and headed toward the one place people whispered about in hushed tones, the Forest of Echoes, a place where time was said to stand still, or perhaps reveal its true face. As Alara stepped beneath the ancient, twisted canopy, the ground beneath her felt unsteady, as if the earth itself was made of her own doubts. The deeper she walked, the more the wind began to sound like voices. Her own voice, actually, mimicking every criticism she had ever leveled against herself. "You're going to fail," the trees seemed to creak. "Everyone is ahead of you," the dry leaves hissed under her boots. This wasn't just a forest. It was a physical manifestation of her anxiety. The shadows stretched out like long, thin fingers, trying to trip her, representing the past mistakes she couldn't let go of. She realized then that she hadn't been running into the woods. She had been running inside her own mind for years, and she was finally exhausted. In the heart of the deepest thicket, Alara stumbled upon a small, weathered stone hut. Outside sat an old man, his skin etched with lines like the rings of a tree, calmly polishing a brass lantern. Curiously, the lantern glowed with a soft, pulsating light, even though there was no fire within it. Alara collapsed before him, her voice trembling as she asked how he could be so peaceful while the forest was screaming. The old man didn't look up immediately. Instead, he handed her a heavy iron key. "This key opens nothing," he said softly, his accent carrying the weight of centuries. "But notice how tightly you are holding it. Your knuckles are white. You think the key is important, so you suffer for it. Anxiety is just your hand refusing to let go of a key to a door that doesn't exist." The old man led Alara to a pool of black obsidian water. "Look," he commanded. As she peered into the depths, she didn't see her reflection. She saw a monstrous version of herself, covered in clocks and tangled in golden chains that stretched into a dark, foggy abyss. This was the monster of tomorrow. It fed on her energy, growing larger every time she worried about next month, next year, or her next failure. The monster roared with a sound that vibrated in her chest, the sound of a panic attack. The old man whispered, "The monster only has power because you are feeding it your now. It is a ghost living on a diet of your future. To kill it, you don't need a sword. You need to come back home to your body." Alara closed her eyes, shutting out the terrifying vision in the water. For the first time in years, she stopped trying to solve the problems of next week. She felt the cold air hit her lungs. She felt the texture of the moss beneath her feet. She listened to the singular, rhythmic thud of her own heart in this very second. As she anchored herself in the present moment, a deafening silence fell over the forest. When she opened her eyes, the monster was gone. The black pool was now crystal clear, reflecting nothing but the quiet trees and the pale moon. The heavy iron key in her hand had turned to dust. The old man smiled, his lantern glowing brighter than ever. "The light in this lantern is fueled by the present," he explained. "It dies when you wander into the future, and it flickers when you dwell in the past. Keep your light here, in this moment, and the shadows will never find you again." Alara walked out of the forest as the first rays of dawn began to pierce through the city's skyline. The city hadn't changed. The traffic was still loud, the emails were still piling up, and the pressure was still there, but she had changed. She moved through the crowds with a strange liquid grace, no longer a victim of the invisible chains. She realized that anxiety was just a story her mind told her to keep her safe, but it was a story she no longer chose to read. She sat on a park bench, watching a single leaf fall from a tree, and realized that for the first time in her life, she wasn't waiting for the next thing to happen. She was simply there, and that was more than enough. She eventually understood that the secret wasn't to eliminate stress, but to change her relationship with time. Most people spend their lives acting as if they are a draft of a person, waiting for their real life to start once they achieve a certain goal. But Alara knew better now. She understood that she was the sky, and the anxiety was just the weather. Sometimes stormy, sometimes cloudy, but the sky itself remains vast, blue, and unaffected. Whenever the old tightness returned to her chest, she would simply pause, take one conscious breath, and remind herself, I am here. I am safe. I am now. And in that simple realization, the world finally became a place of peace rather than a battlefield.